everybody. I do have a little bit of a sore throat today, I'm not sure why. Pretty sure it's probably because I was talking to my boyfriend straight before I went to bed, maybe? That could be it, I don't know. But today, I haven't even got the book that I'm reviewing out. What I was saying is, today we are reviewing the Margaret Atwood The Testaments. So, the reason why I read this book, I feel like this camera angle needs to move just slightly. The reason why I reviewed this book is purely because I studied The Handmaid's Tale in my first year 12 year. So obviously I studied it, and yeah, that's all you needed to know with why I decided to read it. I also did watch the TV series, but I must say, I'm not going to go into starting the review just yet. Just going to say this book does bring in quite a lot, well, not quite a lot of the TV series, like it skips the parts that the TV series focuses on, if you get what I mean. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about the TV series, because it's not a review about the TV series, it's a review about The Testament Day. I also have a cup of tea because of my sore throat issue, and look at this Tetley mug, it's so cute. So yeah, I wrote down just the general gist of what I got when I researched reviews. Like, I have just done 10 minutes of it, but I have watched a few YouTube videos on this review, like the review of this book. I'm not gonna lie to you, the amount of people who have said this book was not necessary, but also a page turner, like the contradictory terms, like how can a book be so unnecessary but be so gripping? I don't get it. But yeah, this book is set, I think, about 10 to 15 years in that time frame from Handmaid's Tale, which kind of is accurate. Thing is, here is my ultimate grand point about this book. Like, it wasn't needed as to be labelled a sequel of The Handmaid's Tale, because personally I think if you either had just watched the TV series or you have heard other people about like Gilead Society and that whole thing, I actually think you probably could read this book and be completely fine, because they're so not together. I think that's what people wanted. I think people wanted it to be straight off of Offred or June or the Handmaid, whichever one you want to call her. I think everybody wanted it to be from the end of the book, where everybody, I don't personally remember the end because I did study this book 3 years ago, but I know it sort of comes to a very abrupt end and June is left with the smallest amount of hope, but it's like nobody knows what could happen. I think everybody was expecting things to jump straight from that point and go and carry on, which in the Society of Gilead, I don't think that would ever happen, because it changes and it's such a weird society. Like, just nothing ever gels in that society, which is probably why she's gone to this perspective. So she's taken June's 2 children, so Agnes and Nicole. She's obviously not called Nicole because she's grown up in a whole world where, you know, but for the purposes of those who haven't read the book, I'm going to call them Agnes and baby Nicole, because I'm pretty sure Agnes's name is in the other Handmaid's Tale, or the Handmaid's Tale series, so we're just going to call it like that. And then it takes also the perspective of Aunt Lydia. Now, starting reading this book, having 3 shifting perspectives that as a reader you don't learn who they are until halfway through the book. I had to get halfway through the book for everything to click, and halfway through the book it was when things got interesting, and that's when everything for me kind of sped up, because I read this book in like a really weird time frame. So I bought this book after Christmas. I read about 30 pages one day in my free in sixth form, and I didn't actually look at this book until I think it was either the first or second week of my isolation or the world's lockdown, because I went into isolation a week before everything went into lockdown, if you get what I mean. So I think it was when I had finished, well, kind of finished my English coursework, I was like, oh, let's start reading again. And then it took me about a week to get halfway through because it was so confusing. I could only read like one part at a time, and then the last half of it kind of disappeared in about a day, which I was pretty shocked about, which is amazing, to be honest. Amazing for me to keep that time span. It just left me feeling very unsatisfied and dissatisfied. Like, it just wasn't what I expected, which I think everybody is in the same boat with that. But because I'm an English student, I look at obviously the writer's intentions, and I personally don't think that was what Atwood was intending. I don't think she was intending for these 2 books to be identical. Well, not identical obviously, but like be so similar. I just don't think that was like her intention. Like, I think her intention was to leave those 10-15 years for the reader to make their own assumption about what happened, because you are told that June did make it out of Gilead, and I think she's in Canada. At the end of this, her 2 children escape Gilead with the help of Aunt Lydia. I know, plot twist, Aunt Lydia is working for Mayday. Was not expecting that. Mind blown. But like, that whole thing of them escaping just took up the whole of the end of the book. Like, if you're gonna, it's just so stupid. Like, the whole of the other half of the book was the 2 sisters realising they're sisters, Aunt Lydia obviously making it aware that she's part of Mayday, and that the reason why baby Nicole came into Gilead was so she could help the breakdown of Gilead. Aunt Lydia is assumed to die at the end. She's like, my time has come, almost, like that kind of tone. So I genuinely so confused, and even at the fact that when Nicole is in the hospital because a tattoo that she had tattooed on her to get into Gilead got infected, and you're aware that her mother's there, but she never speaks. Well, she speaks, but she's never addressed. So it's like June's existence from Handmaid's Tale is completely irrelevant in this testament, but it's called the Testament because it's obviously those 3 people's versions of events. So of course, if those 3 people don't have this June person as the main statement of their life, of course it's not gonna be, it's just confusing. But the end, I personally think think, this is what I think, okay, brainwave here. I think she's left the door open. The door very wide open for a part 3. And I think the part 3 will be the coming together and the destruction of the Handmaid's Tale. Or the Handmaid's Tale. What am I on about? Gilead. I think the way it's worked is you need this one, you need this for everything to come together, which I might be wrong, but you kind of can't go from having a book which was all about saving her children and her not resting until her children were out of the Gilead society, to then going to the destruction and just having her kids there. Like, her kids are now out of Gilead, which is the whole, like, her whole intention as a mother, and the whole reason why she smuggled baby Nicole out in the whole beginning of Gilead. That's the reason why she did it. So that's my thoughts. My thoughts is you need this really odd, displaced, strange book, which is a collection of different perspectives which fill in the gaps slightly for the ultimate brainwave of a book, which is going to be the final destruction of Gilead. I forgot about my cup of tea. My poor Tetley mug. But yeah, so basically, it's left on a cliffhanger. It's left everybody feeling dissatisfied, a bit confused and a bit like, what the hell's going on? But I think my theory is probably very true for it all. I may be completely wrong, but you know, what can we do? But anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. It's a bit not what I normally would upload, but to be honest, this is what I do in my English lessons. Well, not completely true to this, obviously, like we do it in a lot more detail, but analysing the writer's messages and motifs and all of that stuff is just giving me the smallest amount of sanity for the last half an hour, so it's basically kind of an essay, but verbally. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more. Bye. Bye.